Welcome back, everyone. Good evening. Friday, the 16th of January, the second live of the day. Richard, good evening, my friend. In British politics, there is never a dull day, so we need to talk.
Paul, I tell you what, mate. I mean, you see, yesterday, I did a stream yesterday. I said to all my viewers, I said, you know what? I'm done with politics. I'm not going to talk about politics anymore. I'm sick of it. It's all too divisive. I'm falling out with people all the time. And it's like that scene out of Godfather Part 3 when Al Pacino's grey and grizzled, a bit like me, standing in his kitchen. He goes, just when you think you're getting out, they drag you straight back in. And what happens? Paul Thorpe drags me straight back in. Godfather Part 3. So I'm hoping that when I go to bed tonight, there's not going to be a horse's head on the pillow next to where I'll be sleeping. But there you go.
Good evening, everyone in the chat. Good evening, Claire Bear. Hope you are well and recovered from your dog walk. Claire, yes, Ian did grass you up, by the way. I know all about your dog walk. I hope you're nice and clean and tidy again. Richard, I've got to say, before we go any further, I'm just really dragging this out for people to come into the room, but you're not exactly Liam Tough style manicured tonight, are you?
Well, Paul, I know you like it rough and ready, mate. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, I've certainly got you rough and ready, mate. Now, you're looking well, Richard. You're looking well.
I'm feeling good.
I'm only pulling your leg.
I'm ready for this. I'm ready for this, Paul. I'm feeling good. I've just listened. This is how dynamic we are in Northern Ireland. Just finished a demo half an hour ago. Showered. Sorry I didn't have time to have a shave and a haircut, Paul. I do apologise. Showered and back on at it with you, mate.
Lovely. Lizzie says, where are we? Lizzie says, come on, Leeds. Yeah, big game for us tomorrow. Fulham versus Leeds. May the best team win. That will mean 3 points for us. But we won't go down the football route. Richard, we've got a load to talk about tonight. Absolutely loads and loads and loads to talk about tonight. Don't even know where we're going to start, to be fair, but I think I'll let you start because I've had plenty to say over the last 24 hours. First question for you, my friend, is what do you make of Robert Jenrick's defection to recycle?
Well, I mean, as much as I dislike Camilla Tominey, she caught him on something rotten yesterday. I mean, he just lied in front of the world's media. This was the first thing he said when he got to the press conference. The first thing he did was told a lie, because she challenged him and said, "Did you say you weren't going to do this? You weren't going to do that?" And of course, he denied it. And then today, she's produced she's produced the WhatsApp messages. So Robert is just looking a little bit jaded already, Paul. But look, here's the thing: the Tories are like rats leaving a sinking ship. And what I cannot understand about Nigel Farage, when he's not doing cameo videos and saying "who are up there are," or doing nice little messages for the most vile offenders that there are on the planet. When Nigel's not doing that, he seems to be self-sabotaging his own party. So that's the question. Why is he bringing people like Jenrick into his party? Robert Jenrick is not the right-wing saviour of the country he pretends to be. When the hotel protests when we started a hotel protest 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago now, and Robert Jenrick promised our local MP at the time, who was a complete lefty scumbag, promised him that he was going to set the security service on us. And the next week, we had the PSNI riot squad. They had surveillance vehicles down. They were ready to batten us off the streets. And that was down to Robert Jenrick. So
yeah, I remember you saying that, Richard.
Yeah, we could dig the video out for another video. I won't be able to get it for you tonight, but there's a video of him saying that in Parliament. So this isn't something I'm making up. It actually happened. This is the great right-winger Robert Jenrick, which stuffed our hotels with migrants. Robert Jenrick, who was migrant immigration minister at the back end of the Boris wave. He was just Robert was surfing in on the back end of the Boris wave into his position as immigration minister. Listen, I've no time for the Tory party. I've no time for reform. I think they're a busted flush already. They've got a dead cat bounce. They just don't realise they're dead yet.
Listen, Richard, Kelly's got, she's got the score there, mate. Look, Paul is known as the grandfather, so you better watch out. There's not a pair of slippers under your bed tonight, Richard, when you nip upstairs. Yeah.
Oh, mate.
Look, he said today that this is about uniting the right, but it's not, is it?
Who said that?
Robert Jenrick.
How's he going to unite the right? If he wanted to unite the right, he should have gone to Ben Habib and says, "Do you know what, Ben? I want to join Advance UK." That's how you unite the right, and literally said, "Look, Farage and Reform are not the answer. There's a party here who has all the policies that Reform should have had that didn't. We have a party here that is everything that Reform should have been but wasn't, and we've got a ready-made party there." This is what I find infuriating, that there's a party there waiting in the wings to ride in on a white charger with Ben at the head of it, and hopefully Rupert side by side on another white charger, and maybe it's Nick Tenconi on a donkey coming in after the whole cavalry and mopping up. That's what they should be doing. And instead of that, people are still trusting in Reform, which is the uni party. And I think Farage has been sent there deliberately, deep state, uni party, to stop any insurgent party on the right getting any traction. And it's going to be very interesting to see what other parties on the right do now. Are they going to coalesce and come together, or is there going to be a divisive move? And I think that's the question that we've got to answer.
Well, that's the question that we're going to be asking tonight, Richard, amongst along with our viewers in the chat there. Welcome, everyone. Good evening. Just under 1,000 people already in the room. I think it's going to be a busy one tonight, Richard. There's lots to talk about. I want to talk about UKIP. I want to talk about Reform. I want to talk about Advance. I want to talk about Rupert Lowe. And I want to talk about genuine unification and who can potentially mediate and potentially genuinely unite the right. Now, look, when Robert Jenrick, for me, talks about uniting the right, he's either talking out of his backside, he's very stupid, or he's forgotten the party leader, that he's forgotten what the party he has chosen to join. He's forgotten what their leader said and has been saying over the last few months, years, whatever, however long you want to go back, when he's been chucking all and sundry under a bus, and not wanting, and his deputy leader not wanting to associate with us lot. And I don't keep like using that expression because it gets dull after a while, but it's not going away, is it, Richard? I never said that. You never said that. Ben Habib's never said that. I'm afraid the deputy leader of Reform UK said it.
Well, he might not be
unless he's big enough to apologise, it ain't going away, is it?
It'd be interesting to see if he's still deputy leader by the end of the month.
That's exactly what I said, yeah.
You know, by the time Robert gets his knives out. I mean, Robert is in fact, I'd actually be surprised if Nigel Farage is leader of the party by the end of the month, that basically Robert will have taken over everything. But no, I mean, the whole thing's ridiculous. What they mean by uniting the right, Paul, I'll tell you exactly what he means. He means uniting the Tory party with Reform. That's what they class as uniting the right. Now, anybody, and look, I've got really good friends that are in Reform, still in Reform.
Yeah, I mean, me too.
I was chatting to one yesterday, very successful business guy, very, very sharp, very astute. He's still wedded to the Reform thing. I'm not going to fall out with my mate. I'll say his name is Steve. I'm not going to fall out with Steve over his political analysis. My problem is not with the rank and file of Reform. My problem is with the leadership of Reform. I think it's rotten to the core.
Yeah.
I think the Conservative Party is rotten to the core. And look who he's got. Zahawi, right? Who done for diddling his taxes, Vaxman, failed Chancellor, and he was the big signing until Robert Jenrick got outed as plotting to leave the party. And then obviously Robert hurriedly filled in his application to join Reform and ended up on the platform. I mean, actually, it shows how much respect Nigel has for Robert when he was just calling him Jenrick. You know, it's like it's like an army officer or a prefect in school.
Yeah.
Oh, Jenrick, come here, Jenrick, come here, Jenrick.
Yeah.
You know, listen, these are an elitist class, right? And they do not have the best interests of the British people at heart. They have their own best interests at heart, and that's what the Conservative Party is about is survival. And if it has to change its whole brand and call itself the Reform Con, that's what it is, isn't it? It's the Reform Con. Call itself the Reform Con. You know, that's what they're going to do to win the next election.
Yeah, and they seem to be prepared to do it. Someone just joking in the chat there said, Keir Starmer's joined Reform. Well, it is Friday. I mean, yeah. Even Danny's in the chat, by the way. Yeah, I mean, look.
Hey, Danny. Watching you today, mate.
Whoever is next. There we go. Look, breaking news, Starmer has defected to Reform. Well, it's a Friday evening. I mean, look, it's going to be a good one tonight, boys and girls. So I hope you're all settled comfortably. Go and get yourselves a cup of coffee, cup of tea, a glass of wine, bottle of beer, whatever you like on a Friday night. You're amongst friends. I think it's going to be an interesting one. But, I mean, look, I want to talk about unification tonight, Richard, because I said earlier on in the week, and I'm going to stick to me guns, right? That, you know, I've been talking for 2 years now. I like to think much of what I've said has made sense. But at the end of the day, it all boils down to jack shit, right? We need some action.
Yeah.
And, you know, we need some unification. We need to, when I say stop the talking, there's some talking that needs to be done, but the right type of talking, all this jaw, and pontificating and procrastinating, it all has to come to an end. Now, I don't know, did you watch Dan Wootton this afternoon?
I did, yeah. I always watch Dan Wootton. I mean, I think he's great. I think, you know...
Even when you catch him putting his makeup on, he's still great.
I haven't noticed
Dan,
that.
if you're watching,
I don't pay that much attention to his cosmetics.
Dan, you're not getting away with that one, Dan. We saw you.
If that guy wants to wear a bit of lippy, that's up to him, Paul. Leave him alone.
Oh, no,
right?
I caught him with his compact before the show was on. Dan, see, we know. I thought you'd been having a bit of Botox, mate, but it's not, is it?
If Dan's watching, the truth is Paul puts makeup on for the show as well. You see, I don't need to. I don't need to put makeup on, you know.
Yeah, I thought.
How did you take it down that road, Paul? For goodness' sake, let's get. This is meant to be a serious show with serious people watching.
It is a serious show.
I did watch it. And it was great. And look, fair play to both Nick and
yes.
Ben. I think they both spoke extremely well. Nick put across a very strong Christian nationalist position.
Yes, he did.
Ben put on a very strong Christian constitutional nationalist position as well, which I think and I think both positions are very, very important. I do have, I'll be honest with you, there are concerns, not with Nick and Ben. I do have concerns, and I'm going to say this, I might as well get it out there. I haven't hidden this. I have concerns about the influence, not about Rupert himself, but about the influence of people who I believe are ethno-nationalists hiding in plain sight, very, very close to Rupert Lowe. And you can tell if they're ethno-nationalists because they talk about nativism all the time. Nativism is basically saying white English people. Okay, fair enough. If that's what they're into, that's fine. And that's an issue that I'm going to do a very detailed video on, explaining exactly what my position on ethno-nationalism is and why I reject all ethno-nationalism, not just the extreme versions of it. But that's my concern, and that's a personal issue I've got, and I think morally I'm right, and I think pragmatically I'm right. But again, it's one for another day. But that's my big worry about Rupert. Has he got these guys round him, and are they trying to take him in a different direction? Because the natural thing for Rupert to do, if he's not interested in party politics, and yet he knows that we need to win an election, well, how's he going to do that? Is he planning on standing 600 independents?
I'll tell you what, Richard, do me a favour. I want to come on to Rupert a little bit later on. I think we have some very important and some very influential people watching the stream tonight. And I want to come on to Rupert a little bit later on. First of all, I wanted to talk about Nick and our wonderful Ben. Look, cards on the table. My situation is, and the same as Richard, everyone knows who we support. Everyone knows where our loyalties lie, or mine certainly. I can't speak for Richard, but I believe he feels the same way. We are strictly behind Ben Habib. We are both members of Advance, and that is where our loyalties lie. But I will say this, thankfully, being a member of a genuine People's Party, I'm still free to say what I feel. I'm not guided or told what I can and can't say. And tonight's show, there's going to be always, there's going to be some honesty. There's going to be some honest opinions. I'm going to tell you the way I really feel and my honest thoughts. And I'm going to also play devil's advocate here and there. But the first thing I wanted to talk about tonight really was Ben and Nick's performance and what they had to say on Dan's show earlier on this evening. I want to start by paying Nick Tanconi credit that's due. I thought he came over very well this evening. I thought that he put his case well. I think that he's a man of morals. He believes in what he's doing, and I admire that. We'll come on to We'll briefly touch on the new UKIP logo later, although that's not a massive, it's not a massive
No, it's
topic
not an
that I
issue.
want to get into tonight. But, well, I'll tell you what, whilst we're at, I'll just cover that very quickly and you can have your quick say. I want everyone to understand, because I want everyone to get my point. When I've spoken about the new KIP logo over the last couple of days, my criticisms weren't necessarily of the cross itself. How can anyone criticise a cross? My criticism is that I don't think it's the best choice for a right-wing party, particularly when you've got the left all over you trying to squeeze every spot they can find and make it look a whole lot worse than it really is. And the other issue with that cross is it's black. If it's a Crusaders cross, I'd like to see it red, and it doesn't quite, for me, it just looks a little bit Germanic. I don't think it does UKIP any favours. I'm fully aware of what Nick was saying and what it really represents. That's not the problem. The problem is convincing other people that's what it means. And if you was to stop the next 50 people walking down the high street and said, what does this remind you of? I think we all know what the answer would be. That's my point. So it's not a criticism of the cross. I think it could have been thought out a bit better. That's my view.
Yeah, I agree totally, Paul. I share that. I mean, it's perception. In politics, it's 90% perception. Unfortunately, you can. Well, I mean, I suppose it is a talking point, and it's got UKIP noticed again.
Yeah, it's got people talking. Yeah.
Is it noticed in the right way that you're going to go and stick your X in the box? Look, I mean, I think it's a bit of a relevance. I mean, I thought Nick spoke very well. I think obviously there's. The issue is that Nick's got, and I'm just going to, if we're going to be brutally honest, this is my honest opinion on this. Nick, no doubt, is getting a salary from UKIP. Okay, I don't know what that is. I'm not privy to it. It's none of my business. But no doubt he's getting a salary. If there's an amalgamation of parties, the reality is, as things stand at the minute, where does he go if he comes into advance? What position does he get? Does he get a position? And I guess that's a big issue that he's got to. Does
he get a salary?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, as far as I know, nobody's getting a salary in advance. I mean,
no.
none of us are getting. We're all doing this because we love our country, right? I mean, none of us are getting a penny. In fact, it's costing Ben a lot of money if you think about what he did whenever he got to 30,000.
100 grand.
Yeah, he put 100 grand in. And Ben, politics is, Ben puts his money where his mouth is in politics. That's all I'm going to say on that, and he really does. So that could be an issue, right? I think Nick spoke well, but my thing is, there's a party there that, if everybody got behind it, could win the next election. It's as simple as that. And I'll tell you why, Paul. I'll tell you why I'm back in advance. I think Ben's a great guy, but that's not why I'm back in advance. I love their mission statement. I love their policy stance from the little snippets that I've heard. And as well as that, it's very much based on the pledge. You can't get away from that. The ideology that Advance UK are pushing is from the pledge. And, Ben was the only politician that openly and publicly signed the pledge back in November 23 or 24, I can't remember. But back whenever that was, 24. So to me, that's why I'm so wedded to it, because I know the ideology is exactly the ideology that we believe in. And it's not ethno-nat, it's not anything extreme, it's a very, very strong position on all the issues that are affecting our country and all the issues that are damaging our country. And that's why it's got my support. And the fact that Ben's a great guy is incidental, and he is a great guy, and he communicates, and he could have gone on that tonight, and he could have said things like, oh, everybody should be joining me, but he was extremely gracious. And Ben's in a position of strength. Doesn't matter about what polling says. Polls come and go. Ben has got, I think he said he's got 40,000 members now. That's constantly ticking up, right? So that's going in the right direction all the time. He's got the support of a lot of us, that have not insignificant social media followings, not insignificant groups like the Pledge, UK Freedom Movement, whatever other groups it is. We've all come in behind Ben. Tommy's come in behind Ben. And I'm left scratching my head still, Paul, wondering why some of the other big... Jeff Taylor's behind Ben. I'm wondering why some of the other big YouTubers haven't rallied to the flag. It doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're not duty bound to.
No, they're not, Paul. But
you know,
here's the thing. Here's the thing, Paul. Right? A lot of these people are making a large amount of money out of their careers on YouTube. Right? A lot, and we know they are. Right? They're making a large amount of money out of their careers on YouTube, and they say they do it for the love of the country. Well, we've now got a party that is absolutely. If you read the mission statement and you look at what Advance UK is based on, we've got a party there that can fix our country if it gains power.
Yeah.
Without a shadow of a doubt. And has the people there. I mean, you know, we obviously know a lot of the people that are involved. You know, there's very senior academics, there's very successful businessmen, there's ex-military men of various different, you know, from the various different services. We have a really, really solid team. And I think the fact that people aren't joining and aren't getting behind Advance leaves a massive question. If they're not doing it, why not? What is it about Advance they don't like? Because the policy, I don't understand how they can look at what Advance is standing for and say that there's, you know, it's exactly what the country needs. So why aren't they joining us? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, no, it's a question I asked myself the other night, Richard. You know, I'll say it, going back to Nick for a moment, I've got to say that I actually like Nick more now than I've probably ever done before. I mean, Nick has grown on me to a large degree. There were times in the past where, yeah, you know, not that I've doubted him as such, but you know, there were times in the past where I thought he's not quite my cup of tea for different reasons that we won't go into, nothing major. But he's grown on me, Nick. You know, I do believe he's a man of principles. I really do wish him well, and I wish that he would be prepared to get into some kind of negotiations with Ben. Did you think that Ben looked a little bit? I thought Ben looked a little bit disappointed, if I can use that word, with the news that he's sort of kind of drifting out about Rupert. I mean, this talk about a potential new party. Having said that, look, Rupert himself has said that he's going to think about things over the weekend. I mean, Rupert, if you're watching this tonight, and I don't speak on behalf of anyone other than myself, what is there to think about, Rupert? You know, come on.
Well, again, I mean, obviously, one of the problems with all politicians is they sometimes pay a little bit too much attention to their advisors instead of their own guts, right? And I would say if Rupert went with his gut, that he would join Advance tomorrow. But I don't know if you remember. Oh man, I'm going to get into trouble for saying this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I don't know if you remember the Lord of the Rings, and I can't remember what this was. It Theoden, one of the kings, was
not a film that I'd ever watched, to be fair.
But you should watch it. It's a great. It's actually it would, you know, it's not as raunchy as Game of Thrones, but it's a great show, or the great films, three great films. Anyway. I think the king was called Theoden, and he'd been hypnotised by a little weasel of a man called Grimly Wormtongue. And Grimly Wormtongue was whispering in his ear and getting to do all sorts of bad things, right? And I think there's a few people round Rupert Lowe, a bespectacled little gerbil of a man who's whispering in Rupert's ear and probably telling him to do the wrong things. That's all I'm going to say on that, Paul. And I hope that Rupert actually comes out of his trance and realizes that he's got to back Ben and he's got to get on board with Ben. And I'm sure that would be they could you know, skip off down the Yellow Brick Road together and take back Neverland. I know I'm jumping about between all sorts of different fairy tales there, but the reality is we could have a happy end to this fairy tale if Rupert realised that the best thing he can do for the country, and this is where it's serious. I mean, I'm making light of this, right? But this is a very serious thing. And I'm going to tell you this now, right? If anyone starts another party and starts fighting on the same ground that we're on, I'll say this: they will be responsible for the destruction of the United Kingdom. That's how serious this is. Now, I don't care whether Rupert Lowe's watching or not. I'm nothing to him. He's nothing to me. All I care about is the country. If I saw Ben screwing up Advance, I'd tell him, right? You know it, Paul.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying to Rupert and those around him, leave your egos at the door if this is what is driving this. or whatever it is, why would you not join an existing party that's been created and that's there? It makes no sense whatsoever. Now, we could have been totally unfair. Rupert may not be planning on starting a new party, but I will say this: anyone else that starts a new party now, they will be responsible for the destruction of the United Kingdom. Because Advance UK, with all the best will in the world, it would just split the membership of Advance UK down the middle. Right, we wouldn't lose
Richard,
members. We wouldn't lose members.
Can I just stop you for 1 sec, Richard? We've got something banging against your mic there. Is something rubbing up against your mic?
I don't think so, Paul.
Something's rubbing up, and as you're talking, we can hear. It's like you're doing a bit of ASMR. But are you coming through the big mic or through the one on your ears?
How's that? Is that all right? Do I have to just hold it like that?
No, it's fine. It just sounds like you're massaging it whilst you're talking. You were the one that were talking about happy endings, so don't even go down that route. Don't stop me off.
I'm just stroking my mic, Paul. Leave it alone.
So,
you know what I mean?
What do you think he's up to, Rupert? What has Rupert got? What's in his mind?
I honestly think people are in his head, Paul. I think that's what it is. I think people have got in his head. That's all I can think. Because none of it makes any sense. He should be standing shoulder to shoulder with Ben.
Absolutely, I agree 100%. Do you think Ben looks a little bit disappointed earlier on, or a bit frustrated when Dan mentioned the potential for another party for Rupert?
Yes, he did, and quite understandably, Paul. Because look, I mean, Ben was one thing about Ben is extremely straight, and I'll be honest with you, I'm frustrated with Rupert Lowe, to be honest with you, and not because I'm not interested in party politics. I'm not interested in what badge or rosette you wear.
Yeah.
If I
I'm
think
interested in winning.
I'm not even interested in winning, Paul. I'm interested in fixing the country.
Yeah.
However we have
winning.
to do that.
Yeah.
However we have to do that. I mean, we're looking down the telescopic sight at a very, very unpleasant end for the UK if we don't get this sorted out at the next election. The UK will absolutely start coming apart. If we get by default, imagine this horror story, right? I'm gonna paint a picture of a horror story for all you viewers. We've had a little fairy tale. Let's have a horror story now, okay? So we go to the election in 2029. We keep doing what we're doing with Advance UK. We maybe get up to 10% in the polls. If Rupert set up his party, Rupert sets up a party, he maybe gets to 10%. Maybe we're on 15, he's on 10, whatever. The Tories are on 10. Farage is on 10. You've still got nearly 50% of the vote. But do you know who's going to win that? Zach Polanski, the Lib Dems and the Labour Party. Because they'll have a game plan. And they'll work together. And they'll plot together. Because one thing about and I believe the left are evil. Okay? I believe the left are absolutely wicked. I believe their policies are wicked. I believe they're enemies of the British people. They're globalists. They're Islamists. And, they are our mortal enemies, right? And the fact that someone's even... If Rupert is even thinking about setting up another party, I'm going to bite my tongue because I'm going to say some stuff I'd regret. But it is ridiculous for anybody to set up another political party right now.
Yeah.
And if you think he's going to... Because I tell you what... if Rupert does set up another party, what are the policies going to be? Who's going to be influencing him? Is it going to be these nativists, these people that call themselves nativists, which is just code for ethnonats, that lie about what we believe? And they do, because I've seen the podcasts where they say that we don't believe in mass deportations. We absolutely believe in mass deportations.
Yeah, I've said it myself.
Yeah. So this is what we're up against, Paul. The stakes have never been higher, right? And I'm not going to hide my light under a bushel. When the stakes are so high, I'm going to speak my mind. I could come on here tonight and say, "Oh, come on over, Rupert. The water's lovely and warm here." And I hope Rupert does come across. But if he doesn't come across and he sets up his own party, it's on him, it's on his advisors, and it's on those big YouTubers that didn't get behind Ben when they should have done. Because if the vote is split now, it's all over. It is if there's another party set up, it is literally all over.
Richard, I agree. I agree entirely with everything you just said right there. I wouldn't argue with a word of that. And I think Rupert, And again, I'm not having to go about him. I've said it time and time again. I doubt that Rupert watches much of my channel. He may be watching tonight. I don't know. But what I would say is, Rupert, is that, I'm a supporter of yours. I'm a follower of yours, a fan of yours, whatever you want to call it. Behind you 99% of the way. But if you go off setting up another political party right now in opposition to what has already been built, and it's been built on some wonderful foundations.
Absolutely.
Then I think you might be getting a little bit carried away with yourself, with all due respect. This is not about Paul or Richard or Ben. It's not about Rupert Lowe. It's about our country. It's about the people watching this channel tonight and their children. That's my opinion. And I won't be swayed on that at all.
No, me neither. And the thing about it is, Paul, I don't care whether everybody in the chat hates me for saying this and for saying what I've said, but there's too much at stake here. And we've worked, this is the culmination for me. I started doing this in a big way in 2015, but I've been thinking about this sort of stuff for years. Yeah. This is a culmination of 10 years work, right? And okay, of course, I'm only a bit player, but when all the ideas that have been bouncing around my head are being expressed by one political party and one political leader, when we've got an amazing street movement like Unite the Kingdom, we've got an amazing political party like Advance UK, and we've got people fittering about on the edges because they're getting a few clicks on Twitter. Don't get me wrong, I'll tell you something about Restore Britain, and do you know what? I'm going to say something tonight, and it might annoy some people in advance. Restore UK have a far better game plan when it comes to social media. They're smashing it on Twitter, no doubt about it. They're smashing it on Twitter, and we need to do better. Just going to say it, because I think if we're going to tell the truth, we're going to tell all the truth, Paul. Okay?
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah.
Listen, I've nothing to lose. I don't hold any position in advance, so I can say what the hell I want. So social media, we need a better game plan, right? But the fact that they're doing really well and getting likes and clicks on Twitter, as Nick Tenconi said, and he said it very, very well, that does not necessarily translate into votes, as many people have found out down through the years, okay? So, I think there's a lot of shenanigans going on there, Paul, and I'm very suspicious of a lot of people around Rupert, and that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, Richard, and I'm not going to, unfortunately, I mean, for the sake of entertainment, it would be good if we could have a disagreement and have a right old ding-dong, but unfortunately, we're singing from the same, we're singing from the same song sheet, exactly.
Do you know what, I said to myself, Paul, I'm not going to talk about politics in a serious way for a month. I said it last night and I meant it, but the reason I've come on is because I think the stakes are so high at the minute that this needs to be resolved. And look, if people don't like what we're saying, I don't really care. We have everything to lose in terms of our country, so I'll speak my mind.
Yeah. David said Advance haven't a chance. Well, David, if that was the attitude of everyone, they wouldn't have a chance. But who does? Exactly.
Who does have a chance?
Yeah, exactly. Nicola, I see Farage is off to Davos next week. There's a surprise. Thank you, Nicola. Appreciate that. Charlie, hi guys, hope you're well. Can you explain how Advance would do things differently? Jenrick was the only one that resigned from the government 3 years ago. Well, Charlie, I think the answer to that is firstly go over to the Advance UK website and have a good look around there. Also, wait until the policies are slowly but surely going to start being unveiled very shortly, starting on the 7th of February. And you'll be able to see for yourself, Charlie, what the difference is. What I would say is that it's not a party of failures. It's not a party of built on people that have lied to us in the past and have had the chance to get things right and have got it wrong, very badly wrong.
Listen, I find it difficult to keep a straight face when I look at the comments like that. I don't want to insult Charlie. I mean, it's very good of him to come on and say that. But, I mean, these are the people that destroyed our country. Yeah. Nadine Dorris and her vile, disgusting online safety bill, which the Labour Party is now using to imprison patriots. So if you want that sort of person in your government, you've got it. Robert Jenrick, who unleashed the security service on the police, on peaceful demonstrators. You want that in your government? You've got it, fella. You vote for reform until the cows come home, because that's what
Yeah,
you're
no.
going to get.
To be fair to Charlie, I think look, he's saying here the problem is Advance doesn't have one MP. That's true. Barely any
Yeah.
councillors. Fair enough, and no branches. I'm sorry, guys, but be realistic. You won't win the general election. Maybe in 2034. Big love. Charlie's entitled to his opinion.
No, he is. No, absolutely, and I'm entitled to be rude to him as well. No, I'm only joking. I'm not being rude, Charlie. I'm just. Listen, I always put my position across very
They're
forcefully.
fair points. They're fair points.
They're very fair points. And actually, the reality is, and again, we need to make sure that we are absolutely on the ball and we don't drop any of the balls. I'm talking about Advance now. So this is to anyone that's in authority or in a position of power in Advance. Realise the responsibility that you hold in your hands and make sure that everything is done right and everything is done exactly as it should be. And I think as a member, I've got a right to say that we need to know that all the structures are put in place, and they're put in place now, and they're put in place properly, and it's done well. And if that happens, we've got a fighting chance. And if I see anything, Paul, I'll be honest with you, if I see anything going wrong in Advance, I will call it out. And I've got a right to do that as a member.
No, exactly.
So Charlie, you have a very good point there, actually. And as what I would suggest to you, Charlie, is join Advance, and then you have a buy-in, because the whole point of Advance is if we see things going wrong, we should have a mechanism to change things. That's the whole idea of the way Advance was set up, and that's what we've got to make sure happens. And if there's anything going wrong, we need to call it to account very, very quickly. And I think that's what being a member of the party is about. It's about being able to voice your opinions and get in touch with the people that are in control and say, guys, is this right? You don't have to do it publicly, but you can certainly do it privately. And again,
exactly.
if you do it privately and there isn't an answer, a suitable answer given, then you can go public with it. But
I think the thing is, Charlie, going back to Charlie's comments, which I say are completely fair enough, and thank you for them. The bottom line is this, right, is that if we don't get the change in society, the way that politics is seen in the United Kingdom in general, and the lack of energy for politics. I mean, in general, in the past, people just don't give a shit, do they really? I mean, look at the amount of people that couldn't even be bothered to walk down the road and vote at the last general election. Hence, we ended up with what we ended up with. That apathy has to come to an end, doesn't it? And if 3/4 of the people that voted for to leave the EU was to vote for Advance at the next general election, we would win. If they vote for reform will win. Yeah. There are enough people out there to win a general election for any party if the people get off their backsides, stop the apathy, and go and put the cross in the right box. Yes, we've got to get the message out there as well. That's the hard part.
Well, here, I mean, this Advanced Jenny puts this very well. She says, if two men who are so politically, ideologically aligned can't agree on the direction of a party, what hope is there for the country? Now, I honestly don't see the problem with Ben Habib. I think the problem, for some reason, and has been since the party was started, is from the other side. Now, again, I'm not here to cause division. I want Rupert to jump on board with Advance and like I say, get on his white charger next to Ben and ride into battle with him. That's what I want to see happen, okay? And that the question, what I can't understand is, Paul, is why is he not doing that? That's why I say, is somebody influencing him in a negative way? And if I tell you what, actually, if people are in the comments and people are basically on other social media platforms, and you see these guys pontificating about nativism and all this sort of nonsense, and they're basically pushing against Advance subtly without saying it, challenge them in the comments on their channels. We get challenged when we say stuff people don't like, as we did by Charlie there. Well, not people don't like, but the people don't agree with. Go and challenge these guys and ask them why they're taking that position. Ask them why is Rupert Lowe not coming in and stand, because Ben doesn't. Well, look, I got into trouble last time. I put words in Ben's mouth, but basically, Ben is not, as far as I can see, opposed to Rupert coming and joining him. I don't know, Paul. Is that the vibe you get? If Rupert came, he'd be welcome.
I think he will be welcome. I don't speak for Ben, but I think he will be welcome.
I don't. And again, I'm not going to speak for Ben, but I just speak for myself. But I would imagine if he phoned Ben tomorrow and said, right, let's get this together, let's do it, let's win this country back, that Ben and him would be, would work well together.
So
I
we're
can't
going to
see-
get, this is where it's going to get hot tonight, right? The crowd's in the room now. We're at sort of 1,700 people. Let me just read this one out. The only Cal Mac, thank you very much. I want France to succeed, but I fear the way the UK is going is an ethnic civil war, and I don't want that. I see demographics segregated between the north and the south of the country to avoid violence. Certainly that north-south divide you're talking about, population movement, is something that's been on my mind recently. Richard, I'm going to blow a little bit of a gasket here, and I'm going to say what's on my mind. And this is a bit sticky, right? I believe that there is a distinct, horrible possibility that one of the reasons that there might be a little bit of pushback with Advance UK is because for some people, Ben isn't quite British enough. And he's not quite pale enough.
Yeah, well, let's put some meat on those bones, shall we? And I'll name the people. Both Carl Benjamin and Connor Tomlinson have said they don't want someone that's not born British to be Prime Minister of the country. That's just a fact. That is a fact, okay? They've said that. And if people don't leave me, I don't want to have to go and do it, but I'll go and dig up the interviews where they've said it.
Well,
right?
If they've said that, Richard, if they said that, you're not causing any problems by repeating what they've said. I'm sure they would stand by that.
It might not have been exactly in those words, but that is the tenor of what they're saying. That basically, for somebody to be, I think they actually even said, either Tomlinson or Carl said, for someone to be in government, they had to be British born, right? Now, I know Ben well enough to know that he is a British patriot, right? His mother is English. He was geographically born in Pakistan. He's as English as I am, right? That's the way I feel about Ben. He's a proud Brit, okay? And I think...
You won't find anyone prouder. I don't care where you come from or what you look like.
And I think if that's... This is a very dark and sinister road they're travelling down. Now, let me also come in on this, Paul. Now we're on this issue, okay? I understand why people are being drawn to ethno-nationalism. And let me give you a few examples. I had the misfortune. My wife likes the old Netflix box sets, right? Okay, I do as well. Hands up, okay? We all like a bit of Netflix every now and then, right? We watched one during the week, right? And the plot was this, right? That basically a coloured woman in America gets sexually assaulted, right? Okay, gang raped by a crowd of white men. Okay, this is the whole thrust of the plot, right? And in revenge, the grandmother or the mother of this woman goes out and murders all the white women that sat there and watched this happen. And at the end of the film, instead of Ma Baker getting dragged off by the cops and the electric chair, which she probably should have got, okay, I mean it's a fantasy, it's not true, it's a story. Instead of the black granny getting taken away and a lethal injection, which a mass murderer in the American southern states would get, she gets a little pat on the head by her daughter and a wink. You've done a good job there. Now the subplot of that is, it's okay. This is what Netflix are pumping out. The subplot of that is, it's okay for brown people to kill white people, right? Then we go to the appalling Boots advert. I think it was 2 Christmases ago, where you have Mrs. Claus, not just any Mrs. Claus, but Mrs. Claus in this advert is a black woman, and that black woman is the same woman that said of the balcony in Buckingham Palace, isn't that a little bit white, right? So what's happening is the media have bought into this DEI BS, right? And is it any wonder that a certain section of
people are getting angry?
White English people are going, hold on a wee minute, there's something really badly going wrong here. So this, you reap what you sow. This has been sowed by very dark, and I'm not on about dark skin coloured, I'm on about very, very evil, black-hearted people in the media that have deliberately stirred up this divide, this, and what I believe is a false divide, Paul. Because I genuinely, like we've always said, and I'll stick to this, and I've stuck to this consistently, and I've had people front me, I've had people in my face wanting to fight me in the past 10 years since I've been doing this, because I've taken a stand against racism, against white supremacy, against ethno-nationalism, against fascism and Nazism. We've stood up against the Nazis far more than Hope Not Hate ever have, right? Because Hope Not Hate have actually, by the way they've behaved, have actually made the Nazis acceptable, because they just class all of us as Nazis. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Lowell's and his communist buddies, vile, disgusting scumbags. And they've got questions to answer again about anti-fascist action and Red Action. I'd love some documentary maker to go back and have a look at what they were doing in the 1980s with those and 90s with those groups. That's another story. But the truth of the matter is, Paul, this is what's happened when identity politics have been played on the left, and now what's happening with some of these people on the right. They're playing the identity politics game. It's a very, very dangerous game to play. I mean, look, it was bad enough when I thought, do you know what, we're going to have to face down a lot of really bad Islamists at some point in the future as a country. We're going to have to go to war, probably, with these Islamists at some point. That's just a fact of life. Because sooner or later, either the British people are going to push back against it, or we're going to get a government that's going to say enough of this Islamist nonsense, they're all getting deported, and then just wait till you see what happens when that happens. And that's inevitable. Unfortunately, that is going to happen in our country. But now the ethno-nats say, well, I tell you what, let's take on all the Hindus, all the Sikhs, all the Chinese, and all the black people and fight them as well. Good luck with that one. Good luck with that one. Because you know what happened? You're not going to win that fight. That's just going to tear the country apart. So when people are buying into this Steve Law's poison, and when we'll call Conor Tomlinson a posh Steve Law's light, okay? That's what he is. He's very well educated, very articulate. We'll call him Steve Law's light, because he actually hasn't got the balls to be full on Steve Law's, okay? So that's what we're up against, Paul. Okay, now I just pulled the pin right out of this, right? And I don't care, because I am sick of it, because I've worked too long and too hard to try and find a settlement for our country that will save our country and will mean all our coloured friends, all our black friends, and all our ethnic minority friends that want to integrate, that want to be part of this great nation. You know, Wendell, my mate Mike, that I've been with since the beginning of this, a fellow veteran, all the lads that I served with in the military, right? Johnson Bahari. Who do you want? Who do you want in the country, right? Steve Laws or Johnson Bahari? And in case anybody doesn't know who Johnson Bahari is, he won the Victoria Cross because he saved his unit in Iraq in the early 90s, right? And I've seen him in the Union Jack Club. When he goes to Union Jack Club, he gets a hero's welcome, right? Yeah. So who do you want? Do you want Steve Laws or Johnson Bahari? Do you want Conor Tomlinson or Daley Thompson? I mean, come on, you know. I'm sorry, guys. I'm done with it. I'm done with being nice to people.
I've got to say, I haven't watched enough of Conor Tomlinson to have come to that conclusion myself, but I get where you're coming from. I've seen certain things being said and I've thought, you know, but look, Richard, what I don't want to do, I don't want to cause any further splits.
I know, but the thing about this is, Paul, a lot of these guys couldn't beat the skin off a rice pudding, and they're putting us in a situation where if they get their way, and they manage to get, well, they'll never get elected, by the way. All they're going to do is split and divide the vote. But if they did get elected, there'd be an absolutely horrendous civil war. I don't see Conor Tomlinson standing in the front line somehow. It doesn't seem like the type. Neither does Carl Benjamin, for that matter.
David, thank you. KE football in it, Paul. Secure, then stay up. Second season. Yeah, we're past our second season, mate. Fair enough. Gib boy, PM wants army of Godfreys from Dad's Army Age. Yeah, Richard, we might, not me, but you're a former serviceman. You might be up for another call-up.
Well, listen, I mean, I've thought a lot about this now. As long as the ethno-nats don't win the next election, I'm not going to go and stand in a freezing cold field in Ukraine and fight against the Russians, and no doubt they wouldn't send me there anyway. They'll probably have me in the rear handing out blankets or mess tins, or, you know, I'll be in the mess tin repair unit. You know what I mean? I'm going to be either blanket stacking or something like that. But what they could do, they could actually put me on patrol in I don't know, Tower Hamlets or somewhere up in Birmingham with an SLR or an SE80. I would quite enjoy doing that. Dover
would be a good. Dover
would be a good one.
I'd station you at Dover, Richard.
Do you know what, Paul? I would be quite happy. I would be quite happy to be on a deportation team, right? I'd be quite happy to be getting these wrong-uns that's broken into our country, that's invaded our country, and rounding them up, putting them on buses, taking them to Dover, getting them on the ferries and sending them wherever they're going to go. Because I do want to deport people from this country, but you know who I want to deport? I want to deport people that would... In fact, I'm not going to name them. The jihadi lawyers. Let's just put it that way, Paul. I'd like to deport the jihadi lawyers. The same jihadi lawyers that we had under surveillance when we were making the Rape of Britain films. I'd like to deport all of the Rape of Britain suspects. Get rid of the lot of them, right? Lock them all up, ship them off. I'd be quite happy to round all those people up. I'd be quite happy to round up all those people that's come to this country, taken advantage of our benefit system, taken advantage of the British people, marched round London for 2 years after the worst massacre that a terrorist organisation carried out since 9/11. In fact, I think it was even worse than 9/11 proportionately. That those people that came to our country took advantage of our benefit system, took advantage of our country. Some of them got a good education, even became doctors and lawyers. I'd be quite happy to deport every single one of them. Because if you come to this country and you hate this country that much that you'll walk around with a flag of a country that doesn't even exist and chant globalise the intifada, you're going. You're going. It's as simple as that.
Richard, are you ready for this?
Go on.
Okay, I'll give you that one. I'll give you that one.
That was a good rant, wasn't it?
That was a good rant, mate. That was a good rant. David, again, thank you. Jenrick is a good politician. His letters against Lammy, Attorney General, that is, he's signed there. Thank you very much. Good boy, Farage is taking in time bombs. Time bombs. Here's a stupid clown. I tell you what, this is what I said earlier on, is that I don't see this ending well. It's not I don't think there's there's enough room in reform for two egos that size. Personally, I can't see it. How long do you give it, Richard?
Well, I don't. I think Farage is going to be mincemeat. I think the smiling assassin in Robert Jenrick's going to. You're going to wake up and hear of the sad demise of. He'll maybe go out on a little rowing boat into a lake somewhere outside, Jenrick's mansion, and that'll be it. There'll be a gunshot and there'll be a plop into the water, and Farage will never be seen again. I'm telling you, Jenrick's a dangerous man.
Should we have a guess? Should we have a little? Let's have a little gamble, right? Let's have a little sportsman's bet. I'm going to go for a bit of a long shot, right? But I think it could be over within a month.
Well, the question is, where's Jenrick going to go then? That's the question. Is he going to tack further to the right? He's not getting back in the Conservatives. Kemi's not going to do that. Kemi's not going to let him back into the Conservatives.
He's got to have been promised the position, hasn't he? Surely he's got to have been.
Well, like I said, Paul, earlier, I'm not sure if I said it to you or I was talking to someone else earlier, but it was the way that Nigel Farage was calling him Jenrick all the time. It's like Baldrick. Jenrick. He is Baldrick to Farage's Machiavellian Blackadder.
I think it's quite funny, really. I mean,
Richard Tice is Lord Meldridge.
Dan was saying earlier on that there's going to be a civil war in reform, and I tell you what, I mean, that's going to be a very difficult circle or square, isn't it? At the end of the day, I don't see, when you see some of the tweets in the past that have been going backwards and forwards between the group, etc. I mean, God, I tell you what, Richard. I mean, if they can all get together, why can't we? But I tell you what, let's get back to division. Can we try and get Ben? Can we try and get Nick Tanconi? Can we try and get Rupert Lowe? Can we try and get all these guys round the table together? Can it happen, Richard? Can we try and make it happen?
I think if anyone's going to do it, Paul, it's probably going to be Ben, because Ben's a very conciliatory.
Yeah.
Ben's a very good way of doing things. I've never heard Ben lose his temper or shout in all the time that we've been doing this, and I'm sure he's been very tempted to do that on numerous occasions. He always keeps his cool. I don't know if you remember that real nasty woman that started heckling him up in Manchester.
Yeah.
He didn't even miss a beat. He just basically said, "Oh, okay, you know," and we all knew where she was going and what direction she was going in. He could have really castigated her, but he was just very polite and he just moved on, and it totally disarmed her. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So
yeah.
Ben, I think I would love to see Ben and Rupert sit down. You know, look. I've articulated my concerns about the people around Rupert. I don't think Rupert's necessarily the problem. I'm not saying he's stupid, but when you've got a lot of people telling you, ego's a very strange thing, Paul. When you have people telling you how great you are, it never happens to me, so I haven't experienced it, but I'm led to believe. When you have a lot of people telling you how wonderful you are, eventually you tend to believe it. And, you know, people can get their own way by massaging egos and making people feel good about themselves. So if that's happening, I would love to see Rupert, you know, just listen to Ben and talk to Ben. But
Yeah,
you see, there'll come a time where that position will be untenable. Where if a new party is started, and the two parties start tearing each other apart, then you're in a situation where
you see, I don't see Ben trying to tear anyone
no,
apart.
Ben won't. Ben won't.
That's not in his nature.
Ben won't do that. That's not what he's like.
He's too classy for
But
that.
but you know, there's gutter snipes like me that will do that. But I mean, no. But I mean, you know, in all seriousness, the reality is, if another party does start, I would be extremely disappointed, and I would go at them. I'll be honest
Me
with you.
too, yeah.
I will go at them, Paul, because Ben doesn't have to go at them. You know, I'm in Advance UK. I believe in the Advance UK project, and I will take the incoming and the flack because I think if that does happen, it needs to be called out as very, very bad behaviour and very ungentlemanly behaviour actually as well.
Yeah, yeah, no, I agree. I think it would be betrayal towards Ben. In all
Yeah.
honesty, that's my view. Tanya Hemsey, thank you. Hi guys, have you seen Jim's rants on Ben and Rupert? Only 5 minutes, but it will be great if you play it. I haven't seen it, and I don't know if I really can without their permission.
Yeah, that's it. We'll maybe play that on a later podcast, Paul. If we do
Yeah,
another one,
yeah,
no
yeah.
doubt there'll be plenty of blowback after this podcast, so we'll probably have to do another one explaining
Yeah,
ourselves later on
yeah.
next week.
Nigel Farage, figures released today should be another alarm bell. 85% of thefts on trains committed by foreign nationals.
Yep.
Wow.
And this is where we've got to get the nuance right, Paul. We are not saying that we're happy for our country to be overrun by foreign nationals who are coming here on a the Boris wave is a Boris crime wave. We don't want those people in our country, right? But my point is the nativist ethno in that position is taking it too far, and what they're doing is trying to deport our friends and our family members, right? I've got a mixed race grandson, right? The ethno-Nazis would not allow him into the country, right? Or they throw him out. So you know that's the problem I have.
Richard, what about their argument that if they push for 100%, they might get 80%?
No,
What about that argument?
No, it's nonsense. I mean, what? So if a little bit of evil, you know, so a lot of evil, you know, counteracts a little bit of evil, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
The
yeah, no, I
ethno-Nazi
agree.
argument,
Yeah.
the ethno argument is morally bankrupt. It is. You know, a lot of them say the Christians. It is a very un-Christian position. Now, I will say this, and this is important as well. If you're talking about, you know, sort of a biblical position on ethno-nationalism, and you go to the Bible, God promised the Jewish people that little sliver of land down the Mediterranean Sea 3,000 years ago. That was promised to the Jewish people in the Bible, if you believe the Bible, by God. Okay, and a biblical position, a Christian position, would say that people are placed in boundaries, and they're placed in ethnic groups. Okay, so the Bible talks about tribes and tongues and nations. Yeah, so that is a thing, and it is quite right to be proud of your tribe, your tongue, and your nation. Okay, but not to the extent that you're going to do unspeakable evil in the name of that. Now, there is a reason why we have a massive demographic problem. And I'm sure, and this is one where if Nick Tenconi's still watching, he will agree with me on this 100%. There's two things that have caused our demographic problem: abortion and contraception. White people just didn't have enough babies. And when you've got a big, massive hole in the population, what the state decided to do was fill it with Abdul and Asif and Aisha. And that's the problem. we traded 8 million babies that were murdered in the mother's womb for 8 million Muslims. That's what's happened in the UK. That's just a fact. Okay, so these arguments are not very cannot be just made very, very simply and very straightforwardly by saying, well, if we just get rid of all these brown people, we solve the problem. If British people actually did what they should have done and had proper families, and if the state had actually supported British people having proper families, we wouldn't be in the demographic mess that we're in. And that can still be possibly not reversed to the extent that the ethno-nats want, but it can be reversed to an extent that you have a settled population that feels safe and secure. The problem and what leads to civil war and civil disturbance is when the settled population become very restive because they're feeling threatened by the newcomers, and especially when those newcomers are very aggressive and literally are saying, we're coming here not to take part but to take over. Yeah. Now, and here's the other thing, Paul. The only group that are doing that, the Hindus aren't doing that, the Sikhs aren't doing that, the Jamaicans aren't doing that, the Christian Nigerians aren't doing that, the Christians from the Middle East who are escaping the Islamists aren't doing that. There's only one group in this country that are threatening the stability of this country at the moment in terms of demographics, and that's the Islamists.
Yeah,
Okay,
Richard, I think the genuine far right are just as worried about the Jews as they are the Muslims.
Well, this is the problem. This is the problem, Paul. Look, the genuine far, well, not the genuine far right, the goose-stepping, dribbly retards on the far right, they're basically doing podcasts with the Islamists because their hatred of the Jews, their joint hatred of the Jews outweighs any concerns that they have about Islamists. So you have people like Nick Griffin going on 5 Pillars, right? Other numpties from the far right going on 5 Pillars, which is an Islamist outlet, an Islamist YouTube outlet. So we have got to decide what we actually believe as people who call themselves on the right. And we've got to stick to that. And to me, that dividing line is what's always been, Paul. It's what's in your heart. Is your heart red, white and blue? Are you a patriot? Do you love the country? Does John Barnes love the country? Does Daley Thompson love the country? Does Frank Bruno love the country? That's what I'm looking at, Paul. And of course, the idiots like, what do they call the guy, Lenny Henry, with his, reparation nonsense. He's not doing the black community any favors, is he?
No,
and all these other people that Bushra, whatever her name is, that dreadful Pakistani woman, disgusting. That Indian girl, I think she's a Sikh. What's she called? The one that's Narinder.
Narinder, yeah.
Those people don't realise that they're actually fomenting.
They're doing more harm than
chaos.
Good.
They're not doing any good. They're doing it for clicks and they're doing it for money.
Yeah.
And I think Bush was doing it because she's ideologically an Islamist, right? I think, that's what it seems to be to me. So, we're in a very, very dangerous situation.
We are indeed.
Even though I'm going hard on people, Paul, if Connor Tomlinson said, do you know what? Actually, I've listened to what Richard said. He's hit me with some big shots there, but he's right. I would go, fair play to you, mate. Shake hands. Let's move on. If you don't believe that anymore, and you've come back to the light, then that's fair enough.
Look, Richard, all I want to do for everyone, I just want to see everyone unite. And on that note, Big T says, thank you, Big T. Ben, Rupert, Nick, Dan, Katie, Tommy, all the way. This is what we need. We need unification. DWG, Thank you. DGW, thank you very much. Charlie is back. Let's have a little look. No disrespect, nothing against Advance. You are the future, but for now, people will vote reform until you get yourself professionally set up. Unite the UK. Charlie, I agree.
Yeah, Charlie, do you know what, mate? Here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. I think we've got enough time to do it before the next election. And that's that.
That's the hope.
But I think actually, Charlie, fair play to you. You're giving the leadership of Advance a kick up the backside to make sure it is ready for the next election.
Yes.
Okay. And every single person that supports Advance should be doing that, saying, guys, we support you, but we want to see meat on the bones. Let's have this. And of course, we're hopefully going to see that on the 7th of February. But look, I think the thing is, Paul, it's like there's so much at stake that we can't afford to get this wrong. We can't afford to get this wrong. And I think there's people that are using this to their own advantage, and that's what I'm concerned about.
We've got a couple of other topics to go through before we end up tonight, guys. So we've still got some way to go. Let me just get through some of these supers. Mark, thank you. Paul, will you be at the event on the 7th of February? Only on a video, I'm afraid, Mark. But if you want to, if anyone wants to attend the Advanced UK event on February the 7th, you can do so over at Eventbrite. Nip over to the Advanced UK website. Get your tickets. It's going to be a great. It's going to be a great day. Wano, thank you. Saul Ben was back on Talk TV the other night. I see that as a positive. Richard Inman making complete sense as always. Don't tell him that. His head's big enough as it is.
That's an accident of birth, mate.
Calling all right-wing votes gather for Russia. Let's have a look. What does that mean? I'm not quite sure what that means. Let's have a look.
Yeah, gather for Russia. I'm not sure either. Someone put in the comments there, no one is thinking about the economy. That's a very good point. And I think that's what people will see as they see the Advanced UK policies coming out, that they are thinking about the economy. I was actually talking to one of the guys on the college who is an earth scientist. Man, I mean, just absolutely superb on climate change, and so the intellectual ballast that you've got in Advanced UK is second to none.
Yeah. Someone said earlier on that reform is built on sand, and I agree with that. Michael Hassler, are you familiar with the political intellectual known as Curtis Yarvin and his political form of government known as neo-monarchism? Michael, I don't, to be honest with you. I don't know if Richard has, so I haven't. But thank you very much for that.
My head. Listen, I'm just a simple soul. You know what I mean?
I was going to say that sounds a bit more intellectual than the Beano, so it might be a bit above my pay grade. Our boss, thank you. Do you think that illusion of the IRGC in Iran will affect the UK regarding sleeper cells?
I think that's a very good point. I don't know if you're going to discuss.
Very good point.
I don't know if you're going to discuss Iran, Paul. But if we can just
hadn't planned to, Richard, but you fire away
very quickly. From what we can gather, the Americans were going to strike Iran the other night. They were going to hit Iran, and that's why Trump had sent that message saying we're on the way. And something happened, and Netanyahu was in contact with. This is where people are going to think I'm working for Mossad now, isn't it? Normally I get MI5, but now it's going to be Mossad. Anyway, unfortunately, as my empty bank account will prove, I'm not working for anybody. But the Netanyahu apparently contacted Trump, and he'd intelligence of what Iran were planning to do to Israel. And Netanyahu, now you've got to think about this very carefully. Netanyahu wants the Iranian regime decapitated. He was going to do it himself back in June or whenever it was last year when they had those when they launched the big attack on the nuclear facilities. Netanyahu had the planes in the air. Trump made him bring them back. Now apparently it was Netanyahu that talked Trump out of attacking Iran. And what my big fear is that Iran actually has a nuclear weapon, and it's been kept from us. Because nothing else makes sense. Because Trump's not shy about throwing a few cruise missiles about and toppling the odd regime here and there. He did it to ISIS. He did it to the guy in Venezuela. He's probably going to do it to Cuba. So there's something very sinister going on in Iran. They could have murdered up to 26,000 people. And here's the hypocrisy, Paul. Here's where we come back full circle to those disgusting, vile, pro-Hamas
I know where you're going, Richard, and you're 100% spot on. Go on.
Bushra, where are you, Bushra?
Where are they? Yeah, where are you?
Bushra, where are you in condemning the genocide that's been carried out by the Iranian Revolutionary Guard against the Persian people? Why aren't you out in the streets protesting? Why aren't you out in the streets waving the flag of the Shah of Iran? Okay? Why aren't you doing that? Now, I hope.
You know why, Richard? They're too busy worrying about the Venezuelan.
No, Paul, because they're bitter and twisted, ideologically driven, hate-filled, anti-Semitic scum. That's why. That's why. That's what these people that were marching around saying from the river to the sea and globalise the Intifada and trying to start civil unrest in our country. And I tell you what, if Tommy hadn't started the Unite the Kingdom rallies, right? I think we would have had serious civil disorder on our streets, because I think people got so sick of those vile, disgusting people marching around with those rags wrapped round their necks and those rags on poles, that disgusting flag of a terrorist state, I think people would have got so sick of seeing them that they would have took the law into their own hands. And I think Tommy, by starting the Unite the Kingdom movement, did the Met Police and the police right the way around this country a massive favour, because it took the energy away from protesting against them, and we said, no, we're going to protest to unite our country, not divide it like those scumbags are doing. And again, this is there's so much at stake here, Paul. This is what people don't understand.
Yes,
we are one terrorist attack from the lid blowing off this country. Simple as that. Simple as that.
Guys, earlier on in my live stream today, I mentioned that, and excuse me, Richard, you don't know that, I didn't even know I was going to say this myself, but I'm going to say it, sod it, and you can, close your ears if you like. But I said earlier on that this man next to me, this way, where is he? This way. This man next to me, for me, does not get enough credit or recognition for what he has done for this movement, what he continues to do for this movement at his own cost, at his own massive loss in many respects. Sorry, Richard, but I'm going to say it for what it is. I know some of the stuff that you go through. And Richard, I want to say that for me personally, having been in this movement for 2 years and having met just about everyone that matters in the movement, for me personally, without you, this movement would have been nowhere. I don't think this movement would even exist without this man in front of you right now. And I'm going to, Richard doesn't know anything about this, but I speak to Richard nearly every day. I know his dedication. I know what goes on behind the scenes. There is nobody in this movement from top to bottom that is more dedicated, more sincere, and just outright determined to win back our country for everyone else, not for himself. So let's see this man get the bloody recognition he deserves. That's my view, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of people in the chat here tonight that will agree with me, Richard. Richard, I want to thank you. And again, tonight, you're the voice of, I wouldn't always say the voice of reason, because, you can blow a fuse here and there. But I think that needs to be said. So, yeah, that's that off my chest.
Well, no, that's very kind of you, Paul. I mean, there's somebody put in the comments that he wouldn't be able to do it without Julie behind him, and that's very true.
Absolutely.
My wife's put up with a hell of a lot, and it was black country bra ladies that you said that, and it's
talking about that, Richard. I spoke to my mother-in-law this afternoon. Now, when you rang me up the other day and said that you'd spoken to my mother-in-law, I thought you was joking.
Oh, did you? Did you not realise I was telling the truth?
No, I thought you was joking. So let's tell the story. Let me tell the story.
Right, okay. Well, my mate, right, I have a mate, and he's a veteran football lad. I'm not going to name him because obviously I don't want to put his job in jeopardy, right? But he's a cracking lad, right? And he's you know what? Like, he's one of those ones that you maybe don't see him for a year or two, and you meet up. It's like an old pals meeting up when he served in Northern Ireland, and he's just a good lad. You know what I mean? Real tough guy as well, right? Proper old school. Anyway, I get a phone call from the other day, and I'm driving the car. Oh no, did I say I was driving the car? I wasn't driving the car. I was stationary. I parked up. Anyway, I parked up and I took the phone call, and he'd parked up and was making the phone call. And he says, "Here, Rich, he says, I've got someone wants to talk to you." That's the worst London accent ever, isn't it? And I says, "Who is it?" He says, "It's someone that knows Paul Thorpe." I went, "All right, okay, put him on." He says, "No, it's not a him, it's a she." I said, "Oh, really?" I says, "This could be interesting." I says, "Put her on." And my mate says, "This woman just loves Paul Thorpe." And I was like, "Oh, really? Now I've got something on him," you know what I mean? So I takes the call, and this very, very bright young lady's on the other end of the phone. And she says, "How well do you know Paul Thorpe?" I says, "Oh, pretty well." She says, "Well, I cook dinner for him every time I see him." And I was like, "Really? Tell me more. And of course, it transpired that it was none other than Mrs. T's mum, Paul Thorpe's 90-year-old, Paul, is she 90?
Yeah,
Am I right?
90,
90-year-old mother-in-law, bright as a button.
Bless her.
And yeah, I mean, just a lovely woman, and she spoke so highly of Paul, and she misses him. And she was like, "I want him to come back home, and we're all missing him, and all this." I don't know why, to be honest with you, but then again, but it was lovely. So then I phoned Paul and basically said exactly what I just said there. Says Paul, Paul's sitting there in the cafe with his mates, and you can just see his. I wish I'd had a webcam on him, because you could just see him getting hotter and hotter under the collar as I'm saying, "I've been talking to a woman that knows you really, really well, Paul." And he's going, "Really?" I says, "Yeah." "What are you talking about?" I says, "Honestly," I says, "she used to cook for you." She says every time she met you, she'd make dinner for you. I said, "Paul, I mean, who is this lady, And of course it was his mother-in-law, but yeah, I'll not say what else went on in that conversation, but there you go.
That was funny.
I had
George,
you
thank
for a
you,
minute, mate.
George. You did for a minute. Ben is a total patriot. I wish I could do more. We don't
Yeah.
want the Islamic Republic of Britain. My
No.
heart tears for Iranian people. God
Yeah.
bless them. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Do you know what? Sorry, go. Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, let me just get through the last of these, mate. Good boy, Rich and Paul. Remember, 60 is the new 30. Yeah, tell me back that. The old back's been playing up, mate. The old Silla. I'll tell you, it's not been good recently, the last couple of weeks. Nigel Farage again. Richard makes an excellent point. Abortions in the UK 2021, 27,000. In 2023, 35,000. Official figures suggest Muslim population increased by 1.1 million from 2010 to 2021. One thing I did want to pick up on, Richard, before we think about packing up tonight, and well, two things actually, but before we get on to the last two topics, I just want to say again to Nick, to Rupert, to Ben, to everyone out there, please get together. United we stand, divided we fall. We know what's going on, and we know what we got to do. Richard, let me ask you about the blasphemy laws again. The blasphemy laws look like they're going to get pushed through. I know pretty much what your answer is going to be, but I think it's a very, very scary situation. And we've already got laws. We've got more than enough laws to cover genuine hate speech, genuine hate crimes. We all know what a genuine hate crime is, but this for me is a blasphemy law through the back door, which means that even tonight's live stream potentially could be deemed as being illegal in the UK.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they've been very clever the way that, it's like all these laws. Oh, no, this isn't going to happen. Then, of course, once it gets on the statute book, it happens. It's like you've just seen it on the screen, the abortion laws. The abortion laws were meant to be for the hard cases, and then it became convenience. If it was inconvenience, I've got mental health problems. Okay, that's all right. Kill your baby. But the blasphemy things, it's horrendous, Paul, because if it stops people being able to critique Islam, then it will not just be. Put it this way, if it stops people being able to critique Islam, it would stop people being able to say, well, why actually do Hamas do what they do? And if you understand why Hamas do what they do, it's because they're the Muslim Brotherhood branch in the Palestinian Authority. They are Muslim Brotherhood. They're doing what they do because they believe Allah wants them to do it. Right? That's why they're doing what they're doing. Now, under these new laws, it's going to be very difficult for people to say that. It's not going to be illegal. But if you're in business, Paul, and you start saying things about Islam, critiquing the doctrines of Islam, which anybody has the right to critique the doctrines of anything. I have the right to critique atheism. I have the right to critique Buddhism, Hinduism, Catholicism, any doctrine I don't believe in. Scientology, Jediism, Satanism. Yeah. I can criticize anything. But under these laws, if you're in the workplace and you critique Islam, I'd say there'll be people getting sacked. Because it'll be breaking, especially in government bodies. So it's a massive,
I think we're there already, Richard, frankly.
We are. And Toby Young has been excellent on this with the Free Speech Union. I joined the Free Speech Union today, and I would recommend everybody joins. If you're a veteran, it's only £29. If you're not a veteran, well, you should have served. It's £59. And I'm starting up I ran an organisation in the 2018-2019 called UK Freedom Movement. I'm breathing life into that again because I think it's needed more now than ever. And it was about freedom of speech, it's about freedom of religion, freedom of assembly, and it's to, again, make people raise awareness of the assault on free speech and on our freedoms, and also democratic freedoms. We still haven't got Brexit. And in fact,
Richard, sorry, just before we go off on another subject, let me know, how do you see these laws potentially being used, and who would be prosecuted under them?
You see, what they're saying is for now, and this is the way they always do it. They're saying these are not. It's not going to be a law. It's going to be a definition. Okay, so this is a definition of anti-Muslim hatred, but the definition, again, I can't remember it exactly. It basically talks about Muslimness. So if you attack Muslimness, that's going to be counted as anti-Muslim hatred. So I would imagine if you commit a criminal offence, it's probably a bit like the race relations laws. And again, I don't know, I'm not a lawyer. I mean, you probably need to get someone that's a legal expert to talk about this properly. But what I would imagine is if you commit an offence and people say, well, that offence was committed because he was being anti-Muslim, right? So, you get into a fight with a Muslim, and the Muslim guy says, "Oh, well, it was because I was a Muslim that he hit me or whatever." Then that might be an aggravating offence. I don't know, Paul, but all I know is it's not good to have a definition of that religion, and then use that definition in a negative sense to persecute people who speak against that religion. Because a religion is not a race. It's different if you're going against an ethnic group just because of their skin colour. I think that's wrong. Obviously, a lot of people on the right don't think that's wrong anymore. But I'm old school. I still think it's wrong to, be against people because of the colour of skin. But what this is, it's because of someone's beliefs. Now, like you say, if you're a Scientologist or a Jedi, I think that's a bit stupid. If you're a Satanist, I think you're probably evil. Now, I don't see Islam any different to Satanism. That's the way I see it. It's exactly the same thing. There's no difference. They're both worshipping a false god, and they both do evil things and kill people. So I think it's very problematic, and it will have a chilling effect on freedom of speech. But at the minute, it's a definition. They're trying to get a definition onto the statute book so that they can, the police, the army.
It's a slippery slope.
It's a slippery slope. It's a slippery slope, and it's only one piece of legislation away. And you know how much Starmer loves his legislation. It's only one step away from creating a blasphemy law. But the other thing is this, Paul. I was talking to a woman today, and basically I go and buy milk from this crazy place that does fresh milk straight from the cow, right? And the woman that owns that, she was telling me that her mother had taken in an Iranian refugee, right? And when she started talking, this guy's obviously a genuine Christian. It's not, he's not bluffing his way just to have gotten to the country.
Yeah.
And this guy is absolutely terrified for his family back home in Iran because he's seeing what's happening. It was very moving. I was actually tears in my eyes, talking to her. Because to me, a Christian from a Muslim country should get refugee status, right? If you're from northern Nigeria and you want to come to the UK as a refugee because the Muslims are going to kill you because you're a Christian, you should be allowed into the country. And this guy has got refugee status because he's a Christian and because he'd be killed in Iran if he went back there, right? Now, under this legislation, it's going to be very difficult to criticise the Iranian regime for doing that. And the reason the Iranian regime are going to kill this man because he's a Christian is because the Hadith tells them to do that. The apostasy laws come from, in Sharia law, come from the Hadiths. So if we can't criticise Islam anymore, we won't be able to say, oh, well, the reason this guy is going to be murdered if he goes back to Iran is because of Islam. You'll be stopped from saying that under this legislation, or you'll be demonised for saying that. So that's why it's so sinister. It means you're not going to be able to critique Islam.
Very sinister, very sinister. There should only be one law, British law, and it should be the same for everyone.
Yes.
There's Miller, thank you. Whilst I agree we need to have more children, at no time in history has every person had children. The government was wrong with mass.
Oh, I agree. Totally agree
immigration.
With that. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. Yeah,
Kelly,
totally
thank you. Been a member for a month. Thank you very much, Kelly. And again, thank you. The lovely Mrs. Inman is a hero. She must be a put up with Richard. That's all I can say.
You better believe it.
Go West Media. Hi, Paul. I hope to get an interview with Nick Tenconi at Exeter Patriots March tomorrow. What one question would you like me to ask him? I'd like you to ask Nick to come and join us. Come and join us. Let's all get together. The only Calmac. Rich, do you believe Khomeini is a modern day Nazi?
Yeah, totally, absolutely. I mean, yeah, absolutely. He's dreadful. I mean, he would kill all the Jews tomorrow if he could get away with it.
Yeah.
And and my worry is that that the man's got a nuclear weapon, and that's why they haven't attacked him yet. I hope I'm
you
wrong.
wouldn't get a bag paper in between the beliefs of Khomeini and Hitler.
No.
SD has gifted one membership for UK Media UK membership. Thank you very much. There you go, Richard.
I'm just laughing, Paul. In the comments, some of the girls that do the women that do the protest with us on a Friday night were complaining about how they got soaked through the skin down on the thing. It's only women can complain about that sort of stuff. I got soaked through the skin. I'm not moaning about it. Come on.
Let's have a look. Is that our Jeff? Jeff is in the chat. Jeff Taylor. Jeff, big shout out to Jeff, one of the best on YouTube.
Jeff, when am I coming back on your channel, Jeff? That's all I'm saying.
I still catch my wife watching Jeff. I don't know what it is. Something about him. I still walk in and catch her watching Jeff, and I say, "Oi, oi, oi, oi."
Hello there.
No, I spoke about Jeff over the last couple of days. One of the best, the very, very best. There you go. Right, guys.
It's Jeff sorting out. He's going to get me on. Prepare for your channel's, viewings to drop by 50%, and you're going to get at least three strikes. But we'll be all right.
Plenty of love for Jeff, and rightly so in the chat. Right, guys. Richard, thank you so much for coming on tonight. An hour and a half. It's been a good. You've been on form tonight.
I'm on fire, mate. Listen, I mean, especially for someone that wasn't going to actually do anything political for a month.
Yeah.
It lasted less than 12 hours.
Yeah. Malcolm says my wife is from Pakistan, a patriot of Britain. Absolutely.
Yeah, sure, and that's the point, Malcolm. This is why we're so worried about this very dark road that people are trying to lead us down. And I know people are going to be, Richard, you've gone too hard on people. I'm not attacking these people personally, right? I'm attacking what they believe, because I think what they believe is wrong, and it's got to be called out. And we've got to see when people are hiding in plain sight. I mean, I'm going to be in so much trouble, Paul. You know what I mean? It's just going to be, yeah.
Shit or bus time, isn't it, Richard? At the end of the day, it's shit or bus time. You know what I mean?
And do you know what? Do you know what they do? They clip little bits, and they clip little bits and they put it together, and when you're doing an hour and a half podcast.
Before we go, I forgot all about it. So Mike Graham had a little dig at me on his show this afternoon.
Mate, you're just name dropping now. You're just name dropping, Paul.
No, I'm not name dropping. I could drop bigger names than Mike Graham. I mean, maybe not weight round the waist, but definitely bigger names.
You don't get much bigger than Mike by looking at that chair he sits in. You don't get much bigger than Mike Graham. But then again, I want to talk, aren't I? You know what I mean?
Yeah, Mike, I'll have a little comeback for you next week when I can be bothered, mate. But to me. Look, I watched some of your show this afternoon only because someone had said that you'd had a little slide dig at me, and I thought I'll have a little look. And thankfully, I didn't have to watch all 2 hours of it. I only had to watch the 30-second clip. But Mike, I'll respond to that if I can be asked next week. Keep up the good work, mate. Your wallet must be filling up very nicely, and good luck to you. That's what you do. That's your stick, right?
That's his stick. Yeah, that's his
He's
stick.
trying to save our country.
Stick. But the thing about Mike Graham, I never actually enjoyed his show. I mean, it's not, it's not an attack on him. I found him quite dull. He'd never. A lot of people get really excited about Mike Graham. I thought he was quite nasty to a lot of people, and I didn't find him funny. So I never watched him. I never ever watched Mike Graham. I love his mate, Kevin O'Sullivan. I think he's great. And,
it's because Kev's a Fulham supporter, see?
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, he's gone down in my estimation now.
We beat your boys last week, didn't you? You know that, didn't you?
Mate, listen, I gave up on Middlesbrough a long, long time ago, mate. You know what I mean? But no, listen. I mean, Mike Graham. I don't get what the excitement is about Mike. I just don't find him that interesting. I really don't.
No, look, at the end of the day, I said it earlier and I'll say it again. Look, I've got nothing against Mike Graham. He does what he does. That's how he earns his money.
Yeah.
He's an entertainer. I agree with a lot of the things he says. I don't agree with some of the things he says. But at the end of the day, for me, he... put it this way, he's not a geezer, is he? Right?
No.
You know what I mean? He's not. No. He's not one of us. Right? At the end of the day, if he'd have been in my group when he was younger, sad to say, we wouldn't have been knocking on his door for him to come out.
No, he wouldn't.
Let's put it that way. You know what I mean?
Absolutely not. Absolutely.
So,
well, I mean, the other thing is, I mean, it was amazing the way somebody managed to hack his Facebook and do all that stuff to him. I mean, I was really worried about that because, obviously that we're all vulnerable to that hacking now. So I mean, it just seems very strange. It's never happened. Has that happened to you, Paul? Have you ever had your Facebook hacked and you've said racist things? And sorry, you haven't said them. Your Facebook's been hacked and somebody's said racist things on your Facebook account.
Personally, I haven't. No. Oh, let's have a little look at this.
No, me neither.
Paul, Claire Bear, thanks, Claire. Paul, horrendous scenes in London at the Iran embassy. Oh dear.
It seems like the Iranian. I'm guessing it's the IRCG attacking pro-Shah supporters there. That's what seems to be, because they've got form for this. They've done this before. The IRCG people have done this before.
In London.
Yeah.
Wow. Let's have just stay there a sec, mate.
Yeah, see if you can find it, Paul. See if you can get something up on the channel, maybe.
Let's have a little look.
You get it on YouTube, yeah.
No, I'm just having a look on breaking news. Nothing I can see at the moment. But I'll have a look when we shut down. But yeah, that's not good news. We'll have a look. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I really appreciate it. Big thanks to Richard, as always. And the man that wasn't going to talk politics for a month,
Paul,
he was going to have a month
dragging
off.
me back in. Just when I thought I'd got out, you dragged me back
You
in.
did say, Rich, you did say that I was the only one that you would talk politics with for the next month.
I did say that, Paul. I actually did say that. That's exactly what I said. Exactly.
Have you enjoyed it?
It's been great. It's been great.
And have we or have we not got the best audience on YouTube?
Magnificent audiences. By the way,
audiences, yes.
If you're watching this on Paul Thorpe's channel, there's another channel that does way better content, right? Called Counter Media. No, it's not going to. Paul, he looked so hurt when I said that. It doesn't do better content than Paul's content. Actually, it doesn't. Paul's is great, right?
Oh, look, police slaying into the Iranians,
Paul,
apparently.
Can we come back to that in a minute, please, Paul?
Yes, mate.
I'm trying to pump my channel out. Yes. Counter Media. Oh, he's a clever bunny, isn't he? Hey, Counter Media UK. Go and find it. With mates like that, who needs enemies? Is it any wonder that I can't wait to get conscripted so I get a decent wage? It's raining men.
Right. Let's love and leave, everyone. Have a great weekend, everyone. See you soon. God bless everyone.